DDG episode 57, post-Thanksgiving, post-Black Friday weekend. My name is Dave Hunt, and I'm joined by a survivalist, Michael Swick.
Yes, I have survived as far as I know.
Yeah.
As of right now, I have survived Thanksgiving and Black Friday. How was your Thanksgiving, Black Friday, Dave?
Thanksgiving was a little different. We stayed in our house with just my direct family and then my son's girlfriend. So that was the extent of our Thanksgiving. And I closed on Black Friday, so that wasn't too terrible. Curbside was a real big thing for our company. So, and then Saturday we pretty much spent the day kind of getting the house a little bit Christmas decorated and doing some more straightening up and just actually a little bit more post cleanup from Thanksgiving, because typically we don't have Thanksgiving at our house. So it was more like, okay, let's put the leftovers away, and then discovering like Wednesday night that we didn't really have enough serving things to serve like 6 sides. So thankfully I was closing at my store Wednesday night, so I brought a couple things home. So,
yeah.
And then I worked on Sunday, and then I had today, Monday, the day we're recording off. So I kind of did that work off thing. So that kind of messes with you a little bit. So.
Yeah, luckily, like at work, I've been able to like negotiate my schedule to where I get my days off in a row, which has been nice. But yeah, Thanksgiving over here was pretty chill. And then just worked Friday, Saturday, in, my work's super spreader sale event. And so far, I believe I survived, but I haven't checked on my coworkers since then because it's been 2 days since I've been to work.
Right. All right. So we are Digital Days Gaming. We are a weekly show that goes live on Twitch Monday night around 9:00-ish. If you're Gus, we're always late. And then we also post to our podcast feeds on every Thursday morning at 6 a.m. Last week, if you are a Patreon supporter, you got 2 episodes at the same day at the same time. We are our numbered episode and our Patreon episode for our Thanksgiving memories. So you can also go to patreon.com/digitaldaysgaming and look at the multiple tiers we have there. If you want to support us that way, you can give us a direct link. We have a direct PayPal donation link if you want to throw us a couple bucks that way as well. And then you can also order Digital Days Gaming shirts and hoodies. We have those on our Teespring site. All of those links are in the show notes. As always, subscribing and leaving a review if you can is a great way to help us grow. If there's a podcast service that you use and we're not on it, please let us know and we'll look to see if we can get on it. And then we also, like we mentioned, we do stream on Twitch, so we are a Twitch affiliate. So if you are sub to us, then we appreciate that help. If you link your Amazon account with your Twitch account, you get something called Prime Gaming, and you get a free sub per month that doesn't auto renew. So if you choose to use that on us, that's a super appreciated thing as well. But other than that, we're going to jump into the news.
Yeah, just like last week, pretty light in news department as everyone was away for holiday or playing with their new consoles. But we did get a little bit more details from Square Enix about Marvel's Avengers, and does not sound like it's going too good for them. Last time we talked about Avengers, we talked about like the mass exodus of like PC players from their servers, and the servers kind of drying up across all platforms. It looks like the financial report for the end of the year came out for Square, and they lost $67 million on Avengers alone. They attribute this loss to a combination of development cost, COVID, poor sales, and the marketing that they had to put into the game towards the end also related to COVID. Like they had other marketing plans bought and paid for already, and then they had to change all those plans to just, straight up TV online marketing to try and make up for whatever they could have had planned.
And I would assume that some of those marketing plans that were bought and paid for were hands-on preview events for industry.
Yeah, hands-on preview events. They probably already had hired the San Diego Comic-Con crew. Like, they probably had a booth planned there. New York Comic-Con. Every Comic-Con probably had some sort of Avengers thing paid for, rented, people trained to work, and they all had to basically take a bath in that and then just switch to just doing the typical advertisements. But even that must have been difficult because, like, the NBA was gone for a good couple months at the beginning of the year, came back. Football has been all over the place. Baseball has been pretty good. But, like, the usual avenues that you market a video game were kind of weird this year. And I'm sure it was very competitive just to get advertisement in like an NBA game or an NFL game, especially this year as more traditional things have like gone away. So $67 million, which is a lot. They do expect to sort of make up for this by playing the lawn game. And that is just going to come down to their DLC plans bringing more people in. Though I'm a little... Kate Bishop's their first DLC. Like I like Kate Bishop from the comic, but when I say Kate Bishop to someone like Dave, you're probably like, who?
Yeah, I have no idea.
For the most part.
And it doesn't... There's I don't think that... Like, that's probably a really... Maybe that's a solid piece of content. I haven't played it yet, so I don't know if it is or isn't. I haven't finished the campaign because it wasn't compelling enough to me and other stuff got in the way. But I just don't think that that's your like, hey, we just launched our game and now we're bringing you this. Like, now we're bringing you Kate Bishop. I think that if they would have gone like a more marquee, like, I don't even know, like Miss Marvel.
Black Panther is their next one.
Yeah, so maybe they should have switched those. But at the same time, we did just have the passing of Chad Boswick, so like that could also probably have been affected that a little bit. But I just don't think that Kate Bishop is the hey, the game's on sale DLC, and we've got some new content coming out. Like, that's not the trigger pull for most people. The thing I find fascinating about this report, though, is there's nothing about the bugginess of the game.
No. The only thing, like, when you dig into the actual report, which was translated, they just talk about the struggling with the game was just the poor sales. Like, they just blame that the game did not sell well enough, though the month it released, it was number one in NPDs, and I believe it was number one in the UK charts for, like, the first 2-3 weeks. Yeah. So it sold well enough, but Square Enix has a history of what they expect good sales to be and what other publishers expect good sales. But the Marvel license is probably expensive.
Yeah, I was say what they expected the return on investment to be for a Marvel game. Because we talked about this all the time. Like, calling it Marvel's Avengers is one of those things where if, a parent could feel safe if they're buying their kid any box, whether even if it's a Stadia or a PS4 or a PS5, a new Xbox One, and they want to get them a game, like, you could, like, we talked about, like, Spider-Man, that's safe. Marvel's Avengers, like, that's safe. God of War for a 12-year-old, probably not.
Yeah. Especially when you look at how, like, Disney is handling, like, the Spider-Man stuff in the movies. Disney, I believe, makes like 5 to 10% of the sales that the Spider-Man movies make, which are owned by Sony. And they were renegotiating that, and apparently Marvel was straight up just asking for 50% because they could.
Right.
So you wonder what type of deal that they're asking for Square, especially after all the success of the Avengers movies, of like, they're probably not offering Square a 5 to 10% cut. They're probably asking for a significant more cut. So the amount of money they needed to make was probably way higher than usual.
They also have some very marquee voice actors in this game. And with them trying to be a game as a service thing, they're going to have to continue to pay these marquee voice actors. And have them come come to them, or in this current pandemic that we're in, record from wherever they're recording from locally. But the Troy Bakers of the world aren't cheap.
No, especially when it's Troy Baker, Laura Bailey.
Right.
It's basically everyone who's been in The Last of Us.
Yeah, it's kind of like some of the stuff, like, games. And again, this is just where my foundation of understanding the gaming industry comes from. But when Destiny 1 launched, they had Peter Dinklage as the Ghost, and the perception was that he didn't do a good job. And then I don't think that when he signed up for that, him or his agent realized what Destiny was trying to be in terms of, like, how often they would have to record voice lines for them in terms of expansions and DLCs and storyline updates. And it sounds like, without playing the Kate Bishop DLC, but I would assume that there's new cutscenes with Iron Man and Captain America and, Kamala Khan.
Or just throwaway lines. Like, you get, like, an Overwatch where every time they introduce a character, all 25 characters need to have interaction lines with that DLC character, and it turns into a whole thing. Unless
they knew what these, like you mentioned, these throwaway lines were going to be 6 months ago, 9 months ago, then they have to schedule a separate session with these people to record the lines. Not saying that it's not doable, but that all goes in your budget,
Yeah, it definitely goes into the budget. I'm trying to see what their DLC plans are, because all this stuff kind of leaked in the PC, like people dug into the PC files.
Well, yeah, because they kept all the stuff. That was the other thing. A lot of people that I know that play games as a service, Destiny, Division, League, Overwatch, whatever these games are, most of that content is kept server side, and they keep it box side, like system side, which is really weird.
Yeah. It's like it just makes life a little bit easier. But like the people that like dug into it. Looks like the DLC outside of Spider-Man, which is supposed to be coming early next year, but I'm assuming it might just come along with the PS5 and Xbox Series X version of the game. It's Black Panther, Captain Marvel, She-Hulk, Winter Soldier, War Machine, which just adds to the confusion of why Kate Bishop is the first one. But right. I guess you don't want to just... Kate Bishop's just an odd one in general, just because even though I like the character, it's like she doesn't fit in with these big names, so I don't even know where you would put her.
She hasn't been in any of the current MCU movies, right?
Yeah, no, she's going to get a TV show.
Right. But I mean,
Disney Plus in 2 years.
Like, I know who War Machine is because I've seen the current movies.
Yeah. But like even putting Kate Bishop anywhere in between here, if they would have started with Black Panther and then the next DLC would be Kate Bishop, you'd be like, oh, that's a step down. You know, like I guess they have to just start with Kate Bishop because I'm guessing, so Capcom had a deal with this with Marvel Ultimate Alliance. Mm-hmm. People were really disappointed when they started to list all the DLC and it didn't include any of the X-Men characters after a while because Disney was just like, well, we don't have any X-Men movies. So you have to put in Rocket Raccoon and like all these other characters that people just didn't really want. And if you look at the list, it's like Black Panther, he will have a movie of some sort in 2022. Captain Marvel will have a movie in 2022. She-Hulk is going to have a show next year in 21. Winter Soldier, show next year 21. War Machine, I just will assume will just live forever as a side character in all of the movies. So all their characters have movie plans, and that's where Kate Bishop is going to have the Hawkeye show next year. So I guess it's just... They have a movie, they'll put it out, but to me it would make more sense to put the show out and then release Kate Bishop as DLC, so then people are more familiar and excited about her inclusion. But even that logic, as I say it, is kind of flawed because then they'll run into the same problem they're having with a lot of people of like, this isn't the MCU Avengers, so releasing like two different versions of Kate Bishop at the same time would probably be a little confusion.
Yeah.
But they have a long road ahead.
Yeah, but it's not to say that they can't fix it. Like, so, like, if the DLCs are solid and whatever content that they're, whatever gameplay loop that they're adding into their end game, if it's good and it's fun and it's rewarding, we've seen games, over time pull themselves up from the ground and
with Square Enix in particular too. Mm-hmm. Final Fantasy 14 was killed because it was,
well, it became buggy, a realm reborn because they blew the world up. That's how bad it was.
Yeah. So like there is like a blueprint for how to do this if they need to pull that trigger. But Square at least knows in the past that like, hey, if we have to pull the plug on something and reboot it, we can. I don't think they need to reboot this, but they need to find something that can help them out, and that's not having a buggy game. Like I have it, like it seems okay on the PS5, but I mean I'm playing the PS4 version that's been patched a couple times.
Yeah, I'll probably I'm kind of in the same boat as you are with as much stuff as I have on my plate right now. I'll probably just play this when the next gen upgrade comes out just to check it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, and like I'm just gonna casually play it here and there when I have time. But like right now it's like $30. I have a feeling it's gonna be $30 throughout the holidays because usually Black Friday sales go on and off every other week until Christmas. So this game will probably find comfort at that $30 point and be probably like a safe pick, even though it's got all of its troubles. But for like parents trying to find games for their kids to play, it probably is going to be a safe pick for most people. So it's going to continue to find success, especially at like $30. And people can't buy the new console, so they're going to need some games to play. So this will probably be successful because of that, or at least marginally so. But of course, that doesn't help Square too much because the DLC is free outside of like cosmetics, and the game being half price means Disney will still get their cut.
Yeah, I mean, I think it comes down to like how many copies, if you sell twice as many of the copies at $30, like it's kind of the same thing,
Yeah. It'll work out in the end, and if a percentage of those people buy one of the 3 currencies that game has, it might work out for them in the end.
Right.
But it's definitely...
I think that the player base might be more apt to contribute to a microtransaction if they're paying $20 or $30 for the game than if they paid $60 or $70 for the game.
Yeah, I'm definitely like that. With free-to-play games, I'm more likely to put money into...
Because it's free,
Yeah. Well, it's like Fall Guys. I've put in like $20 into that game. It was free with Plus, but even if I spent the $15 for that game, I probably would have put some DLC, as opposed to, I don't know, like like all the sports games that are like $60, and like the NFL games and the NBA games where it's just like, oh, here's $60, but like you need to put more DLC into this or more money into this. Let's move on to the next story, which I found kind of baffling, but I guess it makes sense.
Did they release this like Thanksgiving week?
Yeah. Yes. Well, they released this news like on the middle of last week.
So like 2 days or a day before Thanksgiving?
Kinda, yeah.
So they're
November 24th. Yeah. So 2 days before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, this is a little schemy to me.
Yeah. Red Dead Online is going to become its own standalone game on December 1st, and it will be $5 until February. And then after February, it will turn to a $20 game. So February 15th, this game will convert from a $5 to a $20 game.
Guess I need to buy it before the 12th just to buy it.
I guess, but you can get Red Dead from most places for $20 right now, and you can get the story at least.
Right.
So
okay. So this is
just the online.
This isn't Red Dead Redemption 2.
No. This is Red Dead Redemption's 2 online component. So they were spinning out Red Dead Redemption 2's online into its own standalone service, and it's going to be a 123 gig download for the online, but it's because it's going to have an option to unlock the single player campaign. So you're
play it now.
Yeah, and then the whole game will be downloaded, so you'll be all set. I just found this a little weird because no one talks about Red Dead Online, and I think I know the answer. Is GTA 5 is the online is still huge, and there's not much you can do. Like, what's keeping GTA Online so successful is you can do crazy shit in that world, and there's a lot of cosmetics you can have people buy.
There's nothing. They can do whatever they want. Like, they've done whatever they want in a modern world that they've gone forward with.
They have casinos and all this stuff in it.
With Red Dead Redemption, again, something that I really haven't delved into or played, I guess pun intended, it's a one-trick pony.
Yeah, they're going for realism in this game. That kind of locked them in. Grand Theft Auto, you can do whatever you want in that universe, and it doesn't matter.
UFOs in Grand Theft Auto, man.
There's everything, and Red Dead doesn't have that because it's adhering to like a very strict playbook, which was broken when it launched. I don't know how much better it's gotten, but my friends that were playing it, they kind of just gave up on it.
Well, obviously it hasn't gotten much better if they're going this route. And then they must be looking at their player base and seeing that whatever player base they have left is only online. And then, like they play the story and they're done with it, because if they really wanted to make money, like I think that they could have, like GTA 5, if we pull up NPD for the year of 2020, I bet you it's still in the top 5.
Yeah, I believe the last month it was. I think it was still in the top
10. 20. Yeah, I mean it's like GTA and Minecraft are like 2 guaranteed spots in the top 10 almost every month, and then also at the end of the year sales. So like, and Red Dead's nowhere to be seen.
Yeah, it's funny though. Their expansion that is coming out next week, after this obviously goes to $5, is a bounty hunter expansion, and the way they're advertising this as there's going to be a whole influx of fugitives coming into the online world because of the new price, and they're going to need bounty hunters to take care of them. So they're adding an expansion just in time for the I keep wanting to say free to play, but it's not free to play. They're right. Going the paid route, which I think is also weird. Yeah. If you're going to give it away for $5, why not make it free to play and give it a real go of making this successful? Like, I own Red Dead 2. Therefore, I own the online. But if this was free to play, and I haven't really played it like at all, but if I didn't own it and they announced this as a free to play, I would download it even though it's 123 gigs. I would download it to give it a shot. So the fact that they're not going free to play.
Have they talked about next gen upgrades at all?
No, not at all. They basically just said like it's compatible with the PS5 and Xbox.
So you want to take up almost 20%? You want to take up almost 20% of my hard drive, and not tell me what I'm getting, or not tell me what cool things I'm getting to take advantage of my tiny hard drive?
Nope. That's why it's backwards compatible. You can use an external hard drive and put it on your external hard drive, which I think are working now on PlayStation. I've been too scared to try it. Because I had too many crashes that first couple of days. This
is just weird, but at the same time, I guess like they're trying to do whatever they can, and they realize that they're probably done with the story, and then the rest of the development plan is for online, which we expected. They typically this is also why GTA Online was delayed. Not that it went as a standalone thing, but they know that their online is where a lot of their money comes from, and kudos to them for taking a swing at it differently.
Yeah, it's the fact that they didn't go full free to play is just kind of odd to me, but I guess $5 is a really low barrier of entry, so you're just really having to deal with the inconvenience of your data cap at that point.
$5 footlong from Subway or Red Dead Redemption Online.
That is the choice that you're going to have to make.
It's 3XS Gaming on our Twitch chat.
Yeah.
So, making Michael's sandwich reference.
Yeah. So yeah, it's weird to me. I wonder if this will work. Because I don't hear people talking about Red Dead, and I don't know if a $5 fee on it is
I don't know if this is gonna work, but it's gonna be one of those things where you jump in a party chat and your buddy's playing the game, and man, it's $5, just get it and let's hang out, and that would work. If I had
except it's going to be like, hey, it's $5, it's 123 gig download, and you probably have to patch it. So whenever you're finished, then we can hop on. Yeah. It's not like a quick thing.
But if I had one or two friends that were playing it and kind of poked at me to check it out with them, I'd do it. But if I don't see anybody on my friends list playing it.
I do like the little trick they're doing of hey, it's only $5 until February. To try and get people to rush by it, probably, doing the Nintendo trick.
Yeah.
Just, hey, limited time, you better jump on this now.
Then they'll come out. They'll come out on February 13th. 1.2 million active users.
Yeah, and then in March they're gonna go free to play, and then you're just be like, oh,
we'll give you $5 worth of virtual currency.
Yeah. Okay, and here is our last story. The PS5 apparently is PlayStation's biggest launch ever.
I hate headlines like this. I hate them. I hate them.
I know. But Sony did tweet it out that this was their biggest launch ever, so it's not people just kind of guessing if it is. For context, though, I pulled up what this could mean. So analysts said the PS5 has sold anywhere from 2.1 million to 2.5 million units already. So if this is the biggest launch ever, if you look back to the PS4 launch window, which was November to February, they sold 5.3 million units. So they're halfway there through their extended launch window, potentially. So it's selling well. Of course, it looks like we're going to deal with the same thing that we dealt with last time, where Xbox doesn't really reveal numbers until they have to, and Sony will vaguely reveal numbers. Yeah. Well, the thing is, Microsoft has to because of the way the business works. You just have to dig for that information when Microsoft does their gigantic quarterly.
Well, yeah, and Microsoft did the same. Used kind of the same headline a couple days after the X and the S launch, saying that they saw 100% or something. I don't know the exact thing, but they saw the most significant increase that they've seen of new Xbox accounts created via the Series S. So that just meant if people that didn't have a Microsoft account before, which meant they weren't part of the Xbox ecosystem, that as new members of the ecosystem were purchasing Series S's.
Yes, yeah, which makes sense because that is the
entry level console.
That is the entry level console that would be perfect for someone just coming in. I'm still curious to know what the ratio is.
Right.
The PS5, we thought it was going to be diskless leaning, but it turns out those were hard to find.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking the S might have been the easier one to find, which makes sense if you're Microsoft. That's the one that more people would be willing to purchase, and also one that maybe scalpers would kind of stay away from because they would want to eat up the Series X inventory, so they kind of could have protected themselves from scalpers, which is getting real bad for PlayStation.
Mm-hmm.
Though a lot of reports, because you hear people talking about how they bought 3,000 worth of inventory. There's a group that said they bought 1,000 Xboxes. When you go to eBay listings, it looks like they're not moving that often, and there's been a steady flow of PlayStation inventory, at least through PlayStation Direct. They've been queuing up lines like every single day.
I mean, I was out and about on the weekend a little bit. I saw them. Like, I mean, not sitting on shelves, but I saw people leaving with them. So, I mean, leaving stores with them. So they were gettable. All three systems. I was like, oh, wow. I mean, when I was in a Best Buy, I saw somebody carrying a Series X in their hand, which I thought was kind of weird. Like up to the registers. But I mean, it's not impossible. But the reason why I hate these headlines is, like, I'm going to use round numbers as an example. If PS4 in the first 10 days sold 2 million copies, 2 million systems, and PS5 sold 2 million in one, it's the biggest launch ever.
It's a better launch. Yes.
So
but you need to do that because you're playing the stock game.
Yeah. And I get it. I would love to see from both companies. I would love to see a tangible number.
Which we don't get unless the number is gigantic.
Right.
Then we'll get those. We'll get that number.
As much as I love stats, this quarantine has definitely benefited the video game industry tremendously. So I think that somebody, prior to COVID in January or February, that was probably like, I don't play video games that much. I'll get a PS5 or a Series eventually. And then all of a sudden they realize that they're stuck at home, or their kids are stuck at home with them, and they're like, I need something to distract them. Like, all of a sudden it became a higher priority.
Yeah. It's funny though. The reason I think the scalpers have been having issues is the eBay listings don't seem to be moving as much. People are still buying them for like $1,000, $2,000 a console. But I've also seen an influx of like YouTubers and Twitch streamers complaining about scalpers trying to advertise on their streams and trying to advertise on YouTuber streams or videos to like advertise that they have inventory that they need to move. And you wouldn't have to do that if they were actually moving on eBay. You wouldn't have to go reach out to a YouTuber of like, hey, can you mention in my video that I have like a couple hundred systems in my inventory?
That also tells me that the demand isn't necessarily as high as people think it is. Like, it's not.
That's what I'm.
It's not as hard to get one like it was like with the Wii or the Wii U, where like you would drop a pallet, not even the Wii U, but like the Wii, where you would drop a pallet and people would buy it because they knew what it was and they just got it. I think if somebody, people aren't just happening to be in Best Buys or going to Best Buys or Targets or Myers or Walmarts or wherever I just want to go to 3 or 4 Walmarts today, see if they got a PS5 so I can buy it, so I can flip it, because I know I'll flip it within 3 hours. Like, that's obviously not happening. So and I think, again, the pandemic plays a role in that. And I also think that, like we talked about before, I think the consumer is just smarter now. Like, I mean, in terms of their ability to use resources to get these systems.
Yeah. Well, it's
from non-scalpers. Sorry.
Yeah, from non-scalpers. Because scalpers are trash, but they seem to be losing finally a little bit. But like, for me personally, like, I've had like 3 opportunities this week where I have an Xbox Series X just in my cart, and I'm at the very last checkout page, but then I just pull out last second because I'm like, no, I have Demon Souls, I have Sackboy, I have so many PS5 games that I need to play, in Cyberpunk's out next week. So every time I've had it at the last final checkout, I'm just like, no, I'm not going to touch it. I'm not going to.
But, and again, like the perception is going to be like, so people that already have, like, and I'm going to use you as an example, people that already have a PS5 that are thinking about an Xbox are like, oh, I can get it. I almost had it. And then the people, and the reverse of it is the people that have an Xbox that are maybe looking for a PS5, I think are in the same boat where they're like, do I really want it? Do I need it right now? Is there anything that I want to play on it? So I think if you're diligent enough and intelligent enough, you can find these consoles. Now, I know I have a friend that he's a community member, Randy. His Xbox was stolen. Like, it never got delivered.
Yeah, that sucks.
And he's diligently trying to find another one. So if I were you, when you're that close to doing that, maybe tweet at him like, hey, I just put one back in there. Here, maybe you should buy it, or buy it and send it to him and he'll pay you.
That's basically kind of what I've been doing with my coworkers, though, where like they've been trying to get PS5s and are freaking out. And then I will like message them in our group me of just like, hey, PS5s are up now. And they're like, oh, it's not working. And I'm just like, I have it in my cart. Like it's working and I can check out. try harder, and then they get it like 2 minutes later.
Yeah.
Because every website's like breaking right now. Best Buy specifically has been doing a thing where they're like, hey, we're dropping PS5s and Xboxes, and it's going to say sold out, available on and off over the next hour as they just drop a couple in there.
You just have to be a little diligent. I mean, whether it's you have something open on your phone, or maybe you have, your significant other on an iPad and you're on the computer or on the laptop, like you just got to get a little creative. I mean, when I was able to get the Series S, it was because Angela was able to sit in front of a computer and be diligent of trying to consistently refresh the page until she got it. And, so you just kind of have to you look at, you get a notification that on Twitter that Wario says so at 1:00, and you go at 1:25, like, this is bullshit, I can't get it. Well, you're 25 minutes late. Like, that's too late.
Yeah. So, especially with the PlayStation Direct has been that queue system is great at deterring bots, but you need to be in queue the second that queue starts. Right. If you jump in 20 minutes later, it will tell you you're 90 minutes in a queue. You're not going to walk away with the system. Right. Your queue time in that line needs to be under 10 or 20 minutes, or you're not going to get anything, and there's no point of wasting your time. But people don't understand that, and I've been seeing people that they've been tweeting out photos oh, I've been in a queue for 3 hours. It's just yeah, you fucked up. You shouldn't have been waiting that long, because you should have known how hot these are. Right. You're not going to get one if your queue time is 3 minutes. It's like
going shopping on Wednesday before Thanksgiving and being mad that we don't have turkey.
Yes. Yeah, and it's going to be like that for a while. Sony is promising that they will have more throughout the year, and it seems like they've been pretty honest with that, because the PlayStation Direct, at least, has been having them on and off. I think Best Buy said they're not going to have any more for the rest of the year. But they're going to have Xboxes, because I don't know if that means Xbox isn't selling as well, or if that means that
Phil Spencer's been publicly saying that it sounds like Microsoft's strategy is to hopefully get the impulse buy, and Sony's strategy is we'll just do it through pre-orders and online pickup.
Yeah, and to sell out as fast as possible, and Xbox is trickling them out. We'll see how that works out in the end. It is kind of making Xbox a little bit of a joke online, but what does that really matter in terms of man, no one wants these because they're always available. And PlayStation, it's within 30 seconds, they sell out immediately. But then you look at Wario's got 100,000 followers. Yeah. So when he tweets something out, that's 100,000 people.
If I tried to buy, I haven't, my son's got some extra cash, and we haven't even talked about it yet. But I mean, we haven't even tried to get him a PS5 yet.
I might try to get a digital one just to see if I can. Yeah. Just to I could use a second one, or I can flip it for a Series X probably. But yeah, I might just try one just to prove a point, especially to some of my coworkers that don't want to do the work.
Yeah.
But they complain about not being able to get one.
I think you can get it. You just have to be diligent, or if you're kind of one of these people that likes to, pick it up in person or is afraid of the shipping systems, you got to be just a little bit more diligent and be friendly and talk to the retailers a little bit. And it's harder to do now, but it's not impossible if you're just not an asshat. So.
Yep. Yeah, it's just a matter of how much time do you have dedicated. If you have a full-time job and a family, it might be hard to drop everything you're doing for Wario 64.
Yeah,
but if you want to hustle and just drop everything you can for Wario 64, you can definitely get a system within a couple days.
Right.
No. It doesn't help if you're in the middle of a meeting and you see the Wario tweet.
Yeah, that sucks.
Shit.
Yeah. But for the most part, if you're somebody that has meetings, you're probably working from home, and I hope you have a second screen.
Yeah.
So prop your tablet up. I don't know.
My coworker.
But again, be prepared though. If there's 4 or 5 stores that you want to get it from, just make sure you have accounts. Make sure you have one-click checkout. Those are all things that that everybody else has, and you're gonna lose out on if you're oh, it's in my cart. All right, let me put my name in. Let me put my address in. Let me put my phone number. And I'm purposely talking this slow because this is how long it's taking you to type this stuff. And then it's already been purchased 4 more times.
Well, it's funny. My coworker Saturday, it was 11 o'clock, and Best Buy had just dropped Xboxes. So I put in our group me, hey, Xboxes are available. Go buy them now. And my coworker was supposed to be there at 11. He's oh, I can't make it. I'm going to be a little late. And then he comes in 20 minutes later, and I'm hey, where were you? He's buying an Xbox in the parking lot. Because he just pulled over and then just waited, and he ended up walking away with an Xbox online just because he literally just pulled his car over and sacrificed being late for an Xbox. But that's the kind of shit you have to do right now, and it sucks, but that's how it is. I see one of our 3x Gaming, he got his through Wario. Yeah, Wario's doing work, but oh my god, people are abusing Wario right now, and it's really annoying. And you can tell he's getting a little feisty with how much hate he's getting. Though someone paying Chris Hansen to ask Wario to sit down and where are the PlayStations was kind of really great. Someone spent money on a cameo for that. All right, that's all I have for the news, unless something breaks right now. The physical copies for Cyberpunk seem to be hitting eBay, which means it can't be delayed, right? Like only that NBA game has ever been delayed or canceled with retail copies already in stores.
Pulled back off the shelf.
So let's hope it can make it through this.
All right. So what we're playing and watching. So I had a relatively busy week in terms of, like I said, I have family. We had my son's girlfriend in town, and my daughter came home, and she's home for like 2 months now. We bought a new 4K HDR TV. I got the same one that Michael has, apparently.
Yep. Angela texted me, and I'm like, it's a good TV. It depends on what Dave wants with the TV.
So it's 4 upstairs, so I wasn't as concerned about the hertz and the refresh rate. I mean, it does have a PS4 hooked up to it. It does have the Xbox Series S hooked up to it, but the Series S is kind of more of my like kind of kick back and play games and mess around and play, not necessarily like sit up at my desk and play stuff that I'm really trying to pay attention to. So the 60 hertz refresh rate wasn't a big deal. So it's a TCL 4K HDR Series 4?
4, yeah. Series 4 is the one she
Series 4.
Had me approve.
I got it for like $250.
Yeah.
So it was like kind of it came from Best Buy. When I was at Best Buy, I saw these other like Insignia Amazon Fire TVs that were like $150, but I was like, I'm content with the one I got. I really like it. We were able to get everything set up and go through and with the HDR support, set up the PlayStation 4 correctly, set up the Xbox correctly. And then I still have the Roku soundbar, and this is an Android built-in Android smart TV. So
Roku.
Yeah. No, it's Android TV.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the Series 4 I thought was Roku, but whatever.
Yeah,
go on.
But I use the Roku primarily because I have a Roku soundbar anyways, and so we got a soundbar shelf and put it on top. And so far it seems like I'm not seeing a huge difference. I mean, the stuff that I'm liking the most that I've noticed watching it, I was watching, the Lions get their butt kicked and then fire their coach and their general manager over the weekend. Thank you. The biggest thing is the almost near borderless edges in terms of like the TV's frame. Like that's always that.
How old was your TV that you're upgrading from?
It was probably like it was probably just a 1080p TV. It was probably, I think we bought it even secondhand at one point in time. It was like a 40-inch, and we went up to like a 55. So, it was definitely, in terms of like the size of the screen, it was an upgrade. It's the first ever one that I had that had HDR, and this is HDR 10s, and then it's obviously the first one that I've had that's been 4K. I did run into the situation where like through the Roku, I think a couple times we ended up ordering a couple more of them, but we got the little display on the screen of like, you don't have a 4K cable plugged in.
Oh yeah.
For an HDMI, which we rectified. Then just playing some other games on it, like it looked really cool. My son, I wrote this in my playing and watching as well, but Robbie Seifert somehow ended up with an extra digital code for NBA 2K21 for the Xbox, the next gen version. And he wanted to give it to me. I tried to pay for it and he wouldn't let me. So that game looked really cool on this 55-inch television with some of the lighting. And my son was
HDR?
Yeah.
Or did you still wait on that cable? Okay.
No. Like the Xbox comes with a 4K HDMI cable.
Okay.
The Roku didn't have one, or through the course of hooking things and changing things out, we switched the cables out or something. So, but we're all good now. Everything's on. Angela bought braided 4K cables or whatever that are great. So I thought NBA 2K looked amazing in terms like just the reflective lighting on the gym floors and some of the player animations, and he seemed pretty impressed with it. I asked him, he's been playing all the 2K games on PlayStation for a long time, and he was going to, like, the Black Friday sale had 2K21 on sale, and he was like, oh, that's a really good price. Then he's like, but it doesn't have the next gen upgrade. I'm like, yeah, the only one that comes with the next gen upgrade is the Kobe Bryant version. And he's like, yeah, I don't want to spend that much on it right now. And so, and then this, luckily we got this, the tweet for that. So that was great. And he seems to be enjoying that. So like that looked really cool. Then we, with my son's girlfriend in town, we decided to play some PlayLink games. I forgot that I had like Knowledge is Power. So we played Knowledge is Power and Uno, which was really cool. It's the first time I really used the phones as controllers, playing Uno with the phones. It worked really well. 4 people, all of us just downloaded the apps. It worked. It was fun. Knowledge is Power was fun. They bought Trivial Pursuit, and that had a like hand the controller off mode. So like I came home one day from work and they were all playing that, and I was like, well, there's other ones we can play with the apps. And I was like, I looked through like my PlayStation Plus collection, and I had the Knowledge is Power, and then Uno was like $4. The thing I like best about the Uno is like there's really there's no card shuffling, and any rules that you turn on kind of just happen. So that's great. Like playing the sevens and playing the zeros, like it would just happen. The stacking, you could turn stacking on, which is fun. And then so like it was just easier. We also like even just as a family like played Cards Against Humanity, and it was like we were all trying to like sit on the couch and relax, and it's like, oh, gotta get up and discard, gotta get up and so like that's where I was like, this is really cool for it to be like digital. Like I've never really been a fan of like games like that, but I had a good time playing it. I just had to extend the lock time on my cell phone because Knowledge is Power had this thing where you could actually like mess with your opponents, where you could like freeze their screen or like put goo on their screen or disorient them, where if they're trying to tap the answer and they tap a bomb, there's like a 5-second cooldown. You get points for answering the question faster, and you had to like, if you got like slimed, you had to wipe away the slime, and you had to break the ice by tapping it multiple times. So it was kind of interesting and intuitive, and it was funny. It was fun and funny to mess around like that, and it kind of put a spin on the mundaneness of sitting around the dining room table playing a trivia game. So I had a really good time with that. So we watched Mandalorian. We've been watching that for the last couple of weeks. I kind of forgot to mention that, but this is the first time we watched it today before we recorded in 4K. And this episode is really, really cool if you're a Star Wars fan. I dabble in the Star Wars universe, so I kind of know what's going on, but I'm not as enthralled as it is. There's definitely some connections to figuring out some stuff that's going on and about characters you want to know about. I'm trying not to spoil it for anybody. So
that's Clone Wars.
Yeah. Okay.
Jerk. Yeah, I just started season 1 of Mandalorian last week, and I got through all of season 1. Going to start season 2 this week, but it's so hard to avoid any sort of character reveal spoilers on the internet because the fandom has been so excited for this season. So
this particular episode was really cool because it starts talking about like the origins of Baby Yoda. So. Mm-hmm. And then we also, it somehow came up in conversation. We were trying to figure out some movie we wanted to watch, and we were going through some things and trying to I was like, there's gotta be something. I was, like recent. I'm like, no, there's not, like, cause there hasn't really been any movie coming out in the last 6 months that we didn't go to the theater to watch. So, but it came up and we didn't watch the originals, but we ended up renting like the new Bill and Ted movie. It was okay. I fell asleep in it during it for like 5 or 10 minutes, but I had also worked. So, Thanksgiving, and I think it was Thanksgiving night we rented it. So I was, I had worked late Wednesday evening, and then we were doing stuff on Thanksgiving pretty much at home the whole day, like whether it was cooking or doing some things, and then obviously eating a lot, and then you kind of just go in that little mini food coma. So I don't necessarily think it was the movie, other than it was just Thursday night at 8 o'clock, and I was tired and depressed because the Lions got their ass kicked. On national television for everybody else to see. And then the embargo just lifted today for Immortals Fenyx Rising. I've been playing that a little bit over the weekend, a lot today. I am grateful to Ubisoft for sending it to me early. It's just that they sent it to me the worst weekend of the year. Personally, but I will get through it.
I'm worried this game might get lost in the shuffle because of the way it's releasing.
It comes out Friday, the 3rd of December. But there's not a whole lot that I have to say based on more of the previews and stuff that I've already kind of got over with it, but it looks like I'm playing the Switch. I got the Switch version and the PS5 version, so I'm playing the Switch version on my huge TV upstairs. Right off the bat, like I can't see a difference yet in terms of like I haven't played it on PS5. Haven't had a chance to play it on PS5. Based on what I played on my remote connections through my internet, on my preview event sessions, the Switch version looks good. Looks great. It plays fine. It plays great. I don't see any frame rate issues. I'm not seeing any problems. So in terms of people that were worried about like, oh, I think that game might be really fun portable, it might be fun portable. They even said in my review guide that they prefer us to play it with a Pro controller. So they want it. I feel like they want it played on a TV. But that to each their own. It can be played on the Switch. My 5-year-old son is playing it on the Switch and he's having fun with it. So there's an endeavor for that, because of course I download the game on the Switch and he's playing the Switch. And he goes, "What's this?" And I'm like, "Oh boy." Last thing you want to do is give a 5-year-old an open world non-linear game.
Yeah. That he might just be just a little too young for, so
yeah,
might hit a wall soon.
What I should have had him do though is, because Michael knows this pain, and I talked about this before we recorded. I didn't think about this until later. He was playing it a lot on Thanksgiving, because we were like, "Go away!" Like, we're trying to make the food go away. But I made him like, all right, if you're gonna play on your file. I should have had him play on my file. It got me through some of the stuff that I did that I've been already played a couple times.
Yeah, because like currently right now, if you want to know where Dave's at, you can just look at the YouTube videos and get an idea, because you've played this game in multiple sessions already.
And I love the support that Ubisoft's giving, even on our previous websites, employers in air quotes.
Heavy quotes.
I would even like the time that I've gotten with Division 2 and gotten with like Far Cry, and then I get the review and I'm like, oh my god, I gotta go through this like a third time. Like, it's that's
how I felt with Watch Dogs.
Yeah,
it took me so long.
We're gonna give you 4 hours early access to XYZ game, and then then you get to play the beta, and the beta is like 6 hours, and then you get the review copy, and it's like, I gotta get through this. So I'm having a great time with it on the Switch. I wanted to play it on the Switch. I wanted to be able to talk to you guys how it was on the Switch, because that can always be a concern of like, this game is coming to everything, both current gen and prior gen, Stadia, Switch. So it's a PC. I think it's on the Epic Store as well. So it's coming to multiple platforms. And it's performance wise, it's great. I've started to get into some more puzzles that I wasn't into before in some of the temples. And the puzzles are intuitive and make you think. But then they make you think. But then once you figure them out, they're easy to execute. So I feel like this is kind of hitting that stride of like, this is the kind of game that you can pick it up, play it for an hour or two, and set it down and walk away from it for a day or two and pick it back up and keep going and not feel lost. It's got some really good narrative, some good banter back and forth, character creation. It's got everything that you would expect from a Ubisoft game, and it's literally Greek Zelda. It's Greek Breath of the Wild. So if you're into Greek mythology, you like Zelda, you like the open world style games, like Immortals is something that is good for you and will be good and can be played on the Switch successfully. And I'm going on overnights again this week. So by the time you guys are listening to this, I would hopefully stream some of it in the mid afternoon to late afternoon. As I'm playing through, I want to get through a significant chunk of the beginning before I stream it, just because there are some story things to it, and then you guys maybe see me do a little bit more exploration or a little bit more trying to dig up materials and stuff I need to upgrade. But overall, very early physical home impressions playing it directly and not playing it through a remote internet connection. It's great. Yep. Okay. That's it. That's it for playing and watching for me. A little bit more
Dave
than normal.
Actually wrote a list this week, as opposed to making fun out of me for having a list.
Yeah. Well, I didn't want to forget anything.
Yeah.
I'm sure I did anyways. So.
Yeah. Afterwards, you're gonna remember. All right. For me, I finally jumped into Ghost of Tsushima. After waiting so long, I kind of ran out of like new things to play on my PS5. Though a day or two into playing Ghost, I was able to get Demon Souls and Sackboy, so that completely like threw me off a little bit. But started Ghost. I'm really enjoying the first couple hours of the game. I'm playing it in Japanese, so I got to get over like the voice sync being for English, but the Japanese voice acting is really good. The game is like stunning, like visually, like the game's beautiful. I'm playing it on PS5 through backwards compatibility, so I'm getting that stable frame rate. I think that's the only benefit I'm getting from it, is just a stable frame rate, which is all I need from a game like this. Which is kind of cool when you play a game like Ghost that has like a performance and a resolution mode. on PS4. Typically, when you put it in the resolution mode, you lose the 60 frames per second. But when you're playing it on PS5, you don't lose the 60 frames per second. You get both. There's like no point for that like option to even exist anymore when you're playing a PS4 game with those options on a PS5. So being able to play it in resolution mode and still get like a smooth frame rate is really nice. So far, the story, it's okay. The open world stuff is pretty bland so far. I'm hoping it expands a little bit beyond what I'm currently getting, and I don't think it does from everyone that I've talked to.
Right.
Which is a little bit of a bummer, which means it might be a game that I don't finish, or it's going to take me a really long time as like Cyberpunk comes out next week. How I'm going to try Demon Souls because my friends want to run me through Demon Souls because I've never been able to beat Demon Souls. So hopefully I can stick with it and put more time into it. But early on, I like the characters. I like the story. It's just the actual open world stuff I'm not really liking. Though I'm not a fan of like parrying and blocking in games, which is why I suck at Demon Souls. I actually like it in this game because the game makes you feel like a badass, like when you do stuff. Like pulling off like a good parry into an attack looks really good, stylish, and cinematic, especially when you're in like a field or something with like all the flowers and the wind blowing around. That stuff is really cool. Though the one thing I remember people talking about with this game that they really liked is there's no like map with like or there's like no on-screen like HUD to show you where to go. It uses the wind. And I hate that. Like, I thought that was a cool idea. But when I'm riding around a horse and the wind is going all, like, kind of all over the place, and I'm just like, wait, where am I going? And the wind is kind of a dick. And I've almost killed my horse multiple times because the wind is having me go off a cliff. Like, the wind isn't following the road. The wind is like, just go in this direction. I go in that direction, and it's a cliff. And the horse does not have, like, oh, shit, I'm not going to do that. That's a cliff. That horse will just go. So there's been a couple times where I've like jumped off a cliff and died because the wind is just like, yeah, just straight. Don't worry about that. Go off the road. It's fine. And then I jump off a cliff and die. But it's been pretty funny when that happens. Luckily, the checkpointing isn't too bad in the game, so I haven't lost any progress. Even though I was working this week, since a lot of my coworkers who I don't usually work with were all working at the same time, one of them brought their Switch, and we ended up playing Smash Brothers in between downtime. And then we also played Screen Cheat, which is... I've talked about this before, probably not on this show, but previous shows. But Screen Cheat is like a first-person shooter, kind of like GoldenEye, but all the characters are invisible, so you have to look at the other split-screen player's screen to figure out where they are and know where to shoot.
Which isn't very hard to do on a Switch.
Yeah, but we hooked it up to a TV, so it's fine. The only thing that sucked, though, is it had gyro controls by default, so we had to like learn where to turn that off because you were using the motion in the Switch controller to move left and right, which was kind of annoying, but once you turn that off, it's really fun. Because it was all the stores are having their Black Friday sales, so like I convinced my friend who had brought the Switch. I'm like, hey, there's a game Screen Cheat. It's $2.50. So he was like, oh, but I'm just gonna buy it for the hell of it. And so far I've stayed away from most sales. Like, I mean, I bought Avengers I talked about last week. I just bought Hot Pursuit because it's $21. I might buy Star Wars Squadrons because it's $16. Yeah. There's a few other games. Star Wars Squadron, eventually I'm going to get a Series X, and I'm assuming that will hit EA Play in like 3 months. Same thing with Hot Pursuit, but Hot Pursuit was $21.
Just keep in mind, even is Star Wars Squadron worth $16 to you for the VR experience because you have a VR?
Yeah. Then that's what I'm debating about, which I haven't hooked up my VR in like 3 or 4 months. Yeah. And also Iron Man has been $16, and I'm just like, but I need to get Move controllers. And I'm worried that I'm going to eventually just pack up the VR completely and forget it ever existed.
Well, I'm actually concerned
that seems to be the direction.
Yeah, like PS5 support for VR. Like I haven't really heard them say VR or even dedicate a state of play to VR in 2020, or even have a VR game shown in 2020 state of plays.
Ryan from Sony. What's his first name?
I think
Or is
Jim.
that his first name?
Jim.
Jim Ryan, yeah. He's said some very concerning things related to PSVR of just like it was a thing we did and it is the future, but not the immediate future. So it almost sounds like he isn't really too keen on VR. And I'm worried it's because you hear when like CEOs take over, they only want to push shit that they talk about or stuff that they spearheaded. And I'm worried that VR was like a House Layden joint. Yeah. And because he's in charge now, he just wants to move past it. Which we see that happen in movie industries. You'll hear about movies that just get canceled because a new head of the studio, it's not their project, or they cancel a TV show.
Not to derail your thing, but like, I mean, the two telling things for that is that PS5 camera doesn't work with VR, and there was
which is weird,
and there was no direct plug-in for VR. And
they made the adapter, and like the adapter.
Yeah, the adapter's fine. Like I'm not. I mean, I'm over the.
I don't
whatever.
know why the new camera doesn't work.
Yeah, like
it's just a camera. The camera just needs to point
weird.
at the thing to read the lights.
PlayStation future-proofed PS4 with not really future-proof PS4. They had it built for they had the camera port for the camera.
Yeah.
And then I'm assuming that the new PlayStation 5 camera just uses a USB port.
But the fact that it still doesn't work is just weird because it's just a camera.
And now I think if you buy VR, anywhere you buy VR, I think it comes with a camera now automatically, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And the new VR headsets
will have the adapter in them. So.
Yeah, we'll have the adapter built into them. So, or built and packaged in, I should say.
So it'll be taped on the left side of your box when you buy it because they're going to send it to the stores and tell them to stick it.
Yeah, just jam it in there. I am tempted because apparently people have cracked PSVR to use it on PC. I'm kind of tempted to do that. Just give in and just use my PSVR, even though it's not the best VR headset. But there's some like cool games that never made it to PSVR, so I might just do that just as a project because it doesn't sound like it's too hard. But that's my VR rant, which I should just hook up because like I'm trying to figure out what I want to do with my PS4 Pro. Like, do I just turn that into like the VR machine and just put my VR permanently into that?
I'm thinking about putting my VR upstairs. Like we're talking about kind of trying to add another piece to our like entertainment center so that we have some more space for some stuff. And obviously as Owen Owen gets a little bit older in toys and like places like a true home for the Xbox and a true home for the PlayStation 4 now, because my son's PlayStation 4 is here and he's going to be here for a little while. And then I was like, well, like there's some cool games on VR that you could play with locally with a group. And now all of a sudden I look up and I wasn't thinking about it, but I've got a wife, obviously I have a wife, but then my kids are,
you looked up one day and you're just like, who are you?
Well, no, it was
who's been editing my podcast?
I've got an 18-year-old and a 21-year-old that are going to be home for the next 60 days. And like fun games like Stop Talking or Nobody Explodes with a VR headset.
Yeah.
Just
make sure you print the manual at work. That's what I did. I printed like 2 manuals just for the hell of it. It's like 30 pages. It's great.
Yeah, so I mean, like, but just something like that to play, it's fun. Just even if it's only for a couple hours. Just like I'd forgotten about the PlayLink stuff, and it's like because for the most part, it was like my son was in college, my daughter was in high school doing high school junior and high school senior things, and my wife doesn't play video games with me. But then today she sat and watched me play Immortals for a couple hours, and she's laughing with the lines and everything too. So quarantine's definitely kind of changing a little bit of the in-house routines of what we're doing.
Mm-hmm. Other game I'm playing, I'm still playing Hades. I beat it for the
You're gonna make me buy that game.
It's really fun. I played it for the 7th time because I continue to get story every time I beat the game.
I need to buy it because if it's going to be a valid Game of the Year conversation too.
It's $20 for the next 2 days, or it's down to $17 the next 2 days, down from $25 because it's part of the eShop sale, so you might want to do it now.
Yeah.
I beat it a 7th time. My runs are down to like a half hour, 35 minutes, down from like an hour they would take me. So I'm getting better every time. I'm sticking to the bow, even though there are other weapons I haven't run through the game with, but I just have so much fun with the bow, and I'm just more about learning the story, though I think I'm getting close to the end of the overall story that I can gather, because the last run I went through seemed almost final, but they kind of left it on a cliffhanger, so I think one more playthrough of the game, I can then have the full story. Or I might just give up and just YouTube it, just to see how many there are, because I don't want to play this game forever, though it's fun.
But if you can play a game in a half an hour, though, it could be just one of those things where like you're trying to wind down for the day. You get home from work.
No, that's basically what I've been doing. Yeah. It's like when I get home from work, like especially like the last week where like I would get home from work at 10 o'clock and I'd have to wake up at 6 a.m. the next day. I wouldn't have much time to do anything. So I would get home and just like, I'm just going to play Hades for a half hour and get through the game. So that's it for playing. Again, I got Demon Souls and Sackboy. Sackboy I'm not really too interested in, but Demon Souls, I'll see how far I can get in to that. And then finish season 1 of Mandalorian. It's really good. Mm-hmm. I crack up in that show because sometimes they'll show like the Mandalorian's like past, and you see horrible things happening to him as a kid, and then they zoom on his helmet for like an emotional take. But it's just a helmet. So every time they do that, I'm just like, you get maybe a little head tilt or something. But like typically when they do those type of scenes, there'll be someone like crying or you see something physically happening with their face to show emotion. But in The Mandalorian, it's just like dude in a mask sitting there calmly, and this cracks me up. And then me and Sarah started to watch The Crown. We finished season 4, but we started from season 4 because it's the Princess Di season. Mm-hmm. And we're both 90s kids. So, you know, if you grew up in the 90s, you know a lot about Princess Diana and all that craziness that happened with her. So we watched season 4, and now we are starting back at the beginning with season 1 for the first time.
What's it called again?
The Crown.
Okay.
It's on Netflix.
Okay.
So, like, you can totally jump in at season 4 and enjoy the show without the context, because there are historical figures, so it's very easy to figure out who's who, you know, within like an episode or two. So enjoyed it so much that we're going back to the first season, which starts in like 1946 around there. So nice. We're gonna go through that as like that TV show we watch every day. And that is pretty much it. So not as much video games as I wanted to play, but decent amount.
Awesome. All right. We're going to hit some questions really quick. So you can send us questions or comments using hashtag AskDigitalDays. You can post them in the Facebook group. You can post them on our Discord. You can tweet them at us using that hashtag, or tweet them directly at @DigitalDaysPod or at our direct personal Twitters. So in the Facebook group, Matt Lowe puts, what's your best and worst movies based on a video game? So this kind of started a conversation in the Facebook group that I was reading a little bit, and they were kind of hating on Street Fighter, but I didn't think that was a terrible movie.
That's a bad movie.
So I guess right now the best video game based movie would be Sonic the Hedgehog.
I still haven't seen it, even though like I think I like own a digital version of that game through a friend.
Yeah.
Actually, I would say, even though it's not based on a specific game, but it's based on a universe, Detective Pikachu is like the best video game
cheater
movie that I think I've seen. Well, then Sonic the Hedgehog isn't based on a specific game, so it's the same sort of thing. But Detective Pikachu is so damn good at like being like nostalgic, being a predictable but original story, and I don't know. I really think Detective Pikachu might be the best.
That's close.
Mortal Kombat.
Okay,
Mortal Kombat, bad movie, bad video game movie, but it still holds a special place in my heart. Like that is like when I think of the 90s, I think of the Mortal Kombat.
See, and then
movie.
even as a kid too, like there was conversation around this as well, but like watching it now, I think it's terrible. When I was watching it when I was a kid, the Super Mario Brothers movie wasn't awful when you were like 12.
That was definitely one of those movies that I watched a lot as a little kid. And I think I knew it was a bad movie as a little kid, but I still enjoyed that weird ass movie that made no sense. I love reading up about like the history of that movie and the production. It sounds like it was just like a mess of a movie that got made. You know, and I'm just waiting for them to just release Monster Hunter on Christmas Day and be terrible.
That's what started
movies.
this though. Like this is like Matt's a huge Monster Hunter fan.
I am too.
I think he's like, I think that I mean, I don't know enough about Monster Hunter, but I feel like that people are thinking, like looking at the trailers, that this is going to be like some good stuff, and I think that you're getting teed up just to get knocked down so hard.
Yeah. Bad movie. The one movie that I think about when you talk about like bad video game movies, because like Super Mario has some endearing qualities. Mortal Kombat has some qualities. Max Payne.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
Terrible. Probably because I hate Mark Wahlberg. He's not a good actor. He's only been good in like one movie, and that was Boogie Nights, and that's because the character was a dumbass, and he was perfect for that role. Like him and Max Payne was terrible. That is like one of the like worst movies I've ever like sat through. Max Payne is probably the worst. Though there is like the Dead or Alive movies. Basically, any of the Uwe Boll movies are terrible too. But the Max Payne one I remember being particularly bothered by, and I'm not even a big Max Payne fan.
Baddest Page, Double Dragon. That was pretty rough.
See, I never saw that because I'd never played the game, so I stayed away from that.
And Hitman I didn't see Hitman either, but that got crushed. I think Langford really liked Hitman though. As a movie,
yeah, because he went to like a preview event. I think that he might have gotten just like lost in the stars.
That's on our Twitch chat, by the way. So
yeah, when you mention the Street Fighter movie, you mean the original with Jean-Claude Van Damme, right?
Yes.
Okay, you're not talking about the Legend of Chun-Li with Kristen Kruk. That one's terrible.
To be fair, I think I like watching Van Damme. Just in general, like if there's a Van Damme movie on, I would usually watch it.
Well, you could have told me that movie was named, like I don't know,
Fighting in the Street,
Fighting Cop or something, and I would have been like, oh, that's a Van Damme movie. But because they named it Street Fighter, it's just like, oh, therefore it is a bad video game movie, but it's like an okay Van Damme vehicle.
Yeah.
It's fine as a Van Damme one. Also, the Resident Evil movies are trash. I hate them. And they're the ones making the Monster Hunter movie, so I'm sad.
All right. And then Stefan Wren writes, Die Hard is the best Christmas movie. ... Discuss. This is where Michael's going to hate me, I think. I don't have any problem with Die Hard. If you want to classify it as a Christmas movie or whatever, that's fine. I tend to like stupid, funny Christmas movies. So like immediately the first thing that comes to mind when somebody talks about a Christmas movie that I would like to watch around Christmas time is like Jingle All the Way with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sinbad.
No, that's a good movie. Okay. I like that movie. Yeah.
I just think that's funny because like I almost feel like that's essentially the Tickle Me Elmo autobiography. Yeah,
basically. It's the Lifetime version of that, but they couldn't get the rights to Tickle Me Elmo, so they just made some random toy. Okay.
Gus,
here's my pet peeve.
Gus put in chat, for fuck's sake. No, I don't know what that's directed at though.
Yeah, my pizza Jingle All the Way. Okay, so here's my pet peeve. Die Hard is a Christmas movie. Fine, whatever. I saw Die Hard for the first time a couple years ago. It was a fine movie for a 90s action movie. I hate this discussion every time. Like I don't hate Die Hard. I understand it's a Christmas movie.
It's become like a meme now. It's like it's like bringing up politics at Thanksgiving is like bringing up what's a Christmas movie at Christmas.
I just feel like every time someone fucking brings this up, it's just like people are talking about Christmas movies and then they're like, Die Hard's a Christmas movie, and it's just like, okay, cool, and then it's just like it just drives me nuts.
Gus writes, Die Hard is a movie set at Christmas, not a Christmas movie.
yeah, and that's what it turns into. But I just hate the person that always like brings it into the discussion, and they always bring it into discussion like, I don't know if you know this, but Die Hard took place at Christmas, and it's just like, okay, cool, buddy. Like, I'm not saying anything about to stuff.
So the question didn't make it into chat, but does that make the Division 1 a Christmas video game? Because it took place during Christmas.
Technically, Iron Man 3 is a Christmas movie because it takes place during Christmas. Like, you can play that logic, and you can add anything to it. And I think that's where I get annoyed by the Die Hard discussion is because it's just like anytime it's discussed, someone will bring it up and it's just like, but do you really think it's the best Christmas movie? And the answer usually is like, no, not really, but I just wanted to add to the conversation. And it's just like, okay, the answer is A Christmas Story.
That might not even make it in the podcast for the record because my wife will probably bleep you. She hates that movie. Partially because my brother-in-law torments her and puts it on when it's on TBS, like on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day and the day after. He just leaves it on.
I associate that with Christmas just because that's what usually would happen in my house. Someone would put it on the TV and then we would do our Christmas.
Yeah, I enjoy watching it. I can sit down and watch it, or if it's on, I can watch it for a little bit. But once it's over, like I've moved on. Like I don't need to watch it more than one time.
Christmas Vacation has been brought up in the chat a couple times, and I agree that's probably top 10 Christmas movie, top 5 Christmas movie. Though Chevy Chase can sometimes...
We might have a Patreon topic.
Only if we break down one of these Christmas movies, fully break down these Christmas movies.
Do we watch Die Hard and make an episode of why it's not a Christmas movie and make that a Patreon thing?
Yeah, let's go for that. Yeah, it'll be better than just talking about like our Christmas stuff. Yeah, but yeah, Die Hard's a Christmas movie. Yes, is it the best for you? It could be, I guess.
Okay. So Spotlight for me, just a brief one. Will hopefully be like a little bit more streaming of Immortals, and then like I'm gonna try to put up a video review of Immortals Fenyx Rising and have a full review for that game next week. Sorry, I didn't want to say the name like 4 times in a row. And then just our merchandise. Like if you guys are looking, wanting to get something for somebody doesn't know what to get you. If you want to just give them that Teesprings link, that'd be great. A handful of you guys have already bought in shirts. That's awesome. So like just don't forget that we do have some merchandise. And if there's something that you would like to see us have on the Teesprings account, I think there's other things we can do, like even like mouse pads or stickers or coffee mugs or something. So if there's any other interest in any of that, please let us know and we can look into it. I know we try to look into some larger sizes for some people, and I don't know if that's possible, but we might find a separate site for that. Because some of you guys like your clothes kind of big, which is fine. I don't know. You got anything for Spotlight, bud?
No, I'm just gonna, until people can get PS5s, Spotlight Wario64 on Twitter, just to follow Wario64.
I did pick up. I got lucky. I picked up this Astro HDMI to optical out box. I know a lot of people use it if they have their Astro like headphones, and this is something to help with that. It will help me be able to stream PS5 easier. So again, once I get enough time once my wife and I are home at the same time without a holiday going on, we'll get some stuff set up and done. I kind of want to redo my office, but she doesn't want me to. So
I mean, you have to fit that PS5 in there, so it probably needs furniture to be rearranged to fit that big son of a bitch.
So
I look at mine next to my TV stand every day, and I'm just like, man, that thing's stupid.
Well, and for me, like with it being digital, I can put it anywhere. Like, I don't have to access it. So like, that's not terrible. But
every time I look over to the right, I just see my cat and then that stupid PlayStation right behind it. I love the machine. The machine's great, but that thing is so stupid big. It's so annoying.
I will say this, just because you brought this up by seeing it next to it, and I know we've talked about this before. I moved my PS4 out of my office because I didn't really need it in my office anymore, and I put it upstairs in our bedroom, partially because, like, again, when my son's been home and then his girlfriend was in, and Owen wants to play, like, Knack or Knack 2 or whatever, we'll kind of kick him in the bedroom to play. That thing is loud as hell, and I never noticed it.
Did you finally, you finally noticed
now,
it?
it's sitting vertically now on my dresser, so I think that might be part of it, and I was always laying it down in my office, but I also don't have headphones on, or Owen calls me in there to help him with something, and I walk in there and there's like this.
You're like, did we not take the AC out this year? Like, yeah, no, that thing's loud.
Yeah, and it's still a launch day PS4, so whenever that thing decides that it's, I think that when that thing does die, it's actually gonna like backfire and shoot some smoke out of it or something.
You should just take some canned air to it just to see all the dust that. Because that's been in a basement for some time, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, it was used, but my office is in a basement, yes. So.
Oh, yeah. No, mine was used, too. When it was in a basement all those years ago, that thing still would get dust. And I would dust the basement. And it would still...
All right, so you can, like we said at the beginning of the show, you can follow us. Our social links are on our show notes, digitaldaysgaming.com, or in the notes for what the episode you're listening to on your podcast player. Twitter's at Digital Days Pod is the main account. At the first MJC is Michael's, 1ST for first, and then I am at Good Dave Hunt. So again, feel free to send us comments, questions, concerns, feedback, all of it to to those Twitters, and any questions you have for the show, use hashtag AskDigitalDaysGaming. Or, I'm sorry, Ask Digital Days, not the whole thing, just Ask Digital Days. And again, t-shirts, stuff like that, PayPals, Patreons, all of those are in the show notes, so please check those out. And leave a review if you can. And if not, I hope everyone has a great week. Remember to keep moving forward. Michael, you got anything else?
No, just wash your hands, wear a mask. We're not done yet with 2020. That's it. I think we're good. Just don't be a dick out there. See ya.
Talk to you later.